most people think that retiring later is going to be the safe option, that it gives you more time to build your savings, build some security, and give you that peace of mind. But after nearly 2 decades of helping people retire across the UK, I can actually tell you the real truth. Waiting those extra 5 or 10 years can actually cost you a lot more than you realise. Because retirement, in reality, isn't just about having enough money. It's actually about having enough life left to enjoy it. So today, I'm going to show you why retiring at 55 instead of your planned age 60 could be the single best financial and actual emotional decision you ever make. And before you actually dismiss that as being unrealistic, I'll show you what actually changes when you decide to retire a bit earlier. The trade-offs, the numbers, and the hidden upsides that most people completely neglect. Hi, I'm Gareth Shears, and I'm a chartered financial planner here in the UK. I've spent the last 18 years helping business owners, executives, and families just like you, not just save for retirement, but design it with some intention. And in truth, it isn't just for people who are extremely wealthy. It's people who've made a financial plan that gives them that clarity of when they could retire. Because once you understand how your money really works and how much you actually really need to live a life intentionally, you realize actually the goal was never to retire late. It was to retire on your terms. And make sure you hang around for point 6, which is right at the end, as this might be one that you actually never really considered. So here's the first myth I want to challenge, that actually waiting to retire later is the safer option. Now, it sounds logical, right? Wait till you're 60, 65 to retire. Put a bit more into your pension, a little bit more into savings, then you'll be ready, right? But in practice, that's where the logic actually falls apart. But because those extra years of waiting come at a cost of your health, your energy, and actually the best years you have left in you. I met a couple recently who were 55, and they'd had a plan that they were going to only be able to retire at 65. That was 10 years on from where they currently were. So we ran the numbers. Not only could they retire now, but actually they could spend a lot more in retirement than they actually realized, which was a massive shock to them. You see, most people assume that their 60s are just like an extension of their 50s. But the truth is, it's not. In your mid-50s, you're still healthy, active. But once you start pushing into your 60s, 65s, that level of active and healthy starts to disappear. And here's what I've seen time and time again. People just wait those few more years just so they can be safe. But then they leave themselves with fewer good years to enjoy that money they've built up. Now, that in reality is the real trade-off. Now, in financial planning, we talk about something called the consumption gap. It's the difference between what people actually think they're going to spend in retirement and what they actually do end up spending. And this could be huge. A study shows that the average retiree could actually spend 20 to 30% less than what they actually thought they could afford. And why is this? Well, it's because they're terrified of running out of money. So they stop doing the things that they thought they wanted to do. Even people who've done incredibly well, who've got massive pension pots, lots of ISA savings, and even some property which is giving them rental income, they spend a lot less just purely out of fear that they're going to run out of money. They've spent years of saving this money for retirement, putting it away, ready to have some fun when they come to retirement. But they just can't do it. They want to spend freely, but it just doesn't happen. And that's why we see many retirees dying with hundreds of thousands still left in savings and investments, because they were scared to enjoy the retirement they've always looked forward to. Now, retiring early can fix that for many retirees because it forces you to spend more money in the early years because you're active enough to do it. It's about living that life you planned and always wanted to live without just relying on a spreadsheet which says you can't do it. Now, I know this is difficult for many, but that's why when we work with our clients, we write them a financial plan and we robustly test their ability to spend in retirement to try and alleviate that fear of running out of money, because that's what we don't want. So if you're one of those people, feel free to click the link below and book in a call with myself, and we can discuss how a financial plan can take you forward into retirement and remove that fear of ever running out of money. Now, there's a huge psychological shift when you step away from work earlier than you'd originally planned. When you retire early at 55, it's about moving from working to actually enjoying life and taking advantage of the things you've done to get you to this point. You've you've still got a level of energy and drive because you're still young, and you can now channel into the things that you've always really wanted to do, but work has held that back. It's about starting new hobbies, maybe doing the charitable thing you've always wanted to do, spending more time with family, spending time with grandkids, whatever those dreams have always been for you. Retiring at 55 can allow that. And the funny thing is, most people retiring at 55 don't spend drastically more than if they retired at 60. It just means they've started living a lot sooner. Now let's address the practical side of this. Now, it isn't about retiring early and just hoping for the best and that your money's going to last you. It's about making an intelligent plan. Here's what most people don't realize. Retiring at 55 instead of 60 doesn't always mean to have drastically more money in the bank. Often it's actually about understanding how the money you've got can work harder for you in retirement. It means ensuring that your ISAs and pensions are invested correctly to help you get through retirement, to make sure that it can cope with the withdrawals you're making. Making sure you factor in that you have stage pension come in at potentially 65, not just ignoring that, because that is a guaranteed income that's coming down the line. Making sure you actually structure the way you draw your money in the most tax efficient manner, whether that's using your cash savings first, then moving into ISAs, then moving into pensions. It all depends on your needs, but without having that plan, you may affect your long-term retirement and how far your money goes. Now, over the last 18 years, I've built hundreds of cash flow models and financial plans for clients. And time again, I see clients who are shocked to see they can actually retire earlier than they thought and with a hell of a lot less money. You've probably heard that friend who says, I'll retire when I hit that £1 million invested. But that magic number is one of the biggest traps we see in financial planning, because it's not the number that you have, it's actually what you need that money to do for you. Now let's take an example. If you've got £1 million sat in savings in cash, well, that's being eroded daily by inflation. But if you've got 600,000 well invested, diversified, and structured to give you the right income in retirement, you're actually winning. And that's the difference between chasing numbers, as some people do, and your financial freedom. Because wealth isn't always about how much money you've accumulated through saving and investing. It's about how you can effectively turn that money into your future financial freedom. And here's the one I said to wait around right until the end for. And this is one that actually a lot of people miss until we suggested when we write a financial plan. Retiring at 55 might not actually mean a full hard stop and not going back to work. It could be actually redesigning what work is. Think of it like this. Could you drop to maybe 2 or 3 days a week within the same job you're doing? Or is there maybe some consultancy roles you can do? Or, as I've heard many clients say, I'd be happy just to stack shelves in Tesco. There could be that transition into retirement, which means you don't fully retire, but you do things on your terms. And like what I always say to clients is, retiring at 55 does mean you're retired for a long time. And actually to go and do some sort of work or maybe a hobby or something charitable just keeps that grey matter going, keeps the mind moving, keeps you active, gets you out there socialising with people. And that just means in the early years then, maybe you're touching less of your investments than you've actually got. And that's what I call the third door of retirement. It's not fully retiring, it's not fully working, it's a hybrid between the two. And that's the beauty of making a plan for retiring at 55. And it just gives you those other options and puts you back in control of your time and your money. So here's the real question. What are you waiting for? Because every plan I've built for a client shows me one simple truth. The sooner you actually understand your numbers, the sooner you can understand what financial freedom looks like for you and when you can actually retire. So retiring at 55 isn't reckless. It's about being intentional. It's about using the best years on your terms. So if this video opened up your eyes to what actually is possible in retirement, please hit the like and subscribe and share this with somebody who thinks they got to retire at 60 or 65, as it might help them make a decision. And if you want to make your own personal plan for your financial freedom, click the link below and book a call in with myself now. And I'll see you in the next video.